Cheesy the Podcast, presented by Just Cheesy Productions.
Hi there, I'm your host Fondue.
I'm Cheesy.
In this week's episode, we're going to learn all about Bread and Cheese Week.
Yum.
We're talking about the internet sensation.
Ooh.
We're going to learn about bread and cheese around the world.
Whoa.
We're going to find out some bread and cheese terminology.
Really?
And we're going to learn about a possible cheese art installation worth millions.
Holy cow.
And of course, every episode contains our very cheesy jokes.
I love jokes.
Stay tuned for episode 165, Bread and Cheese, on Just Cheesy, the podcast. According to the internet, we've missed a new-ish holiday.
How? When?
I guess the time between December 26th and January 1st, or the Monday after New Year, is called Bread and Cheese Week.
Oh.
And according to some viral videos on TikTok and Facebook, we're talking more than just cheese and bread.
Whoa.
This holiday, if you will, is talking about not going out of your way to do much.
Okay.
You're going to stay inside, be
Yeah.
cozy and relax.
Ooh.
It's meant to be a time spent with family
Cheese.
where you graze on food, you avoid cooking, and of course dishes.
Oh, yeah.
But did you know that bread and cheese is actually a thing in a few different countries?
It is?
And of course we know bread and cheese is popular around the world.
Yeah.
There's grilled cheese.
Yeah.
All kinds of different dishes that include bread and cheese.
Yeah.
But this pairing goes back all the way to ancient Rome and even beyond.
Whoa.
According to food-nation.co.uk, bread was often called the staff of life because it provided sustenance for many ancient civilizations.
Wow.
They said in ancient Rome, soldiers carried bread and cheese as a durable and nutritious provision.
Ooh.
Over time, they say, bread and cheese adapted to local ingredients and tastes.
Of course.
You've got the French with baguette and camembert.
Ooh la la.
You've got the Italians with ciabatta and burrata.
Molto bello.
And you've got UK with crumpets and cheddar.
Cheerio.
There are multiple bread and cheese days around the world that serve as commemoration or as holidays.
Ooh.
According to vitacollections.ca, there is an annual Community Awareness Week in Canada.
Whoa.
This celebrates the Six Nations community, its people, its businesses, its services, and its sports teams.
Nice.
Bread and Cheese Day is celebrated during this week.
Ooh.
It serves as recognition of the alliance with the British Crown during the American Revolution and the War of 1812.
Whoa.
And it began as a practice of gifting blankets to the Six Nations people.
Wow.
It appears this practice stopped upon the death of Queen Victoria in 1901.
Oh no.
But in 1924, when there was a forced takeover of the traditional government, there was an act of public relations, but with what they say is a twist.
Okay.
Rather than blankets, the gift became a token gift of a loaf of fresh bread and a block of cheese.
Yummy.
In more recent years, the amount of bread and cheese has been reduced, but as
Okay.
far as the Six Nations people who celebrate that day are concerned, it's not as much about the bread and cheese as it is about the recognition of the relationship that exists between the British Crown and the Six Nations.
Wow.
And they say it has become the social event of the year.
Yeah.
Spain has a bread and cheese festival that goes all the way back to August 6th, 1479.
1479.
Yep, that's right. I said 1479.
Holy cow.
According to Spain.info, this is one of the oldest festivities on the Iberian Peninsula.
Whoa.
It takes place next to the country chapel of Santo Cristo in Cal.
Okay.
According to the website, there's a lot of diverse documents and recordings that can prove that this festival has been held without interruption since it was founded.
500 years.
According to LaRiojaTurismo.com,
Oh no.
I'm sorry about the pronunciation.
Yes.
According to this website, there is a foundational letter that describes how, during the year of 1479, the town suffered an outbreak of plague that ravaged the village.
Oh no.
This caused a considerable decrease in the town's population.
Ooh.
Every August 6th, 2,500 bread rolls and 50 kilos of cheese are thrown from the balcony of the chapel to the huge crowd below.
Whoa.
It seems to have a festival atmosphere with children's activities, sports championships, concert orchestras, and popular meals.
Fun.
Spain Tourism is not a sponsor,
Nope.
but if it was, the ad would go right here. Have you ever wanted to listen to the web?
Yeah.
Well, Newsly makes that possible.
They do.
They're an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android.
Super app.
You can listen to trending articles on the web on topics that you choose and get them read to you in a natural human voice.
What kind of topics?
Sports,
Cheese?
tech, business, science.
Cheese?
I'm sure there's even cheese.
Yay!
They even have an entire section for podcasts.
Are we there?
Of course we are.
Ooh.
It's one of my new favorite podcast apps. They even have digital radio.
Holy cow.
Just go to www.newsly.me to download it free.
Whoa.
Or use the link in the description. If you use the promo code CHEESY, that'll get you 1 month free premium subscription.
Yay, Newsly.
Now, back to the podcast. Did you know the term bread and cheese has been used around the world?
It has?
According to OED.com, which is the Oxford English Dictionary, the term bread and cheese has the earliest known use going back all the way to the 1500s.
Whoa.
And the definition was a plain, simple, or straightened diet or mode of living, basic necessities.
Whoa.
Similarly, Wiktionary has it as a plain, simple, reduced diet or a way of simple living, and they also have it as a cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
Starting in the 1890s, we start to see it get a little bit stranger.
Okay.
According to Green's Dictionary of Slang, going back to 1891, the entry for bread and cheese actually means knees.
Neat.
And in 1938 through 2002, they show it as a Cockney phrase that means a sneeze.
A sneeze.
According to freeartdictionary.com, in 1822 in New York City, there was a literary salon organized at that time by novelist James Fenimore Cooper.
Whoa.
And of course, it was called the Bread and Cheese Club.
Of course.
According to irishtimes.com, the young leaves of a hawthorn plant were called bread and cheese.
Whoa.
There's a hedge in Barbados called bread and cheese.
Really?
According to BarbadosPocketGuide.com, the hedge actually has spines which make it fairly impenetrable.
Whoa.
And they say although it's difficult to harvest because of the spines, the wood of the bread and cheese plant is used for fuel in other parts of the world.
Whoa.
There's a saying, bread and cheese marriage.
Really?
According to phrases.org.uk, they say that when this phrase is applied to marriage, they would expect it to mean one in which the partners were getting by without much, if anything, in the way of amenities or luxuries.
Whoa.
This next fact is a little rough, so if you don't want to hear it, you can go ahead and
Yeah.
join us again at minute 7:07.
Okay.
This one is terrible.
Yeah.
According to LSD.law, bread and cheese ordeal has a definition, and it was a way of determining guilt or innocence in the past.
Oh boy.
Back in the 13th century in Europe, someone who was accused of a crime
Oh no.
would be given a piece of cheese or bread,
Oh.
and it sort of alludes to the fact they may have had it shoved down their throat.
Oh no.
And if they choked on it, they were considered guilty.
Oh.
And if they didn't choke, they were considered innocent.
Oh my.
It was believed that the choking was a sign from God that the accused was guilty and should be punished.
Holy cow.
That was rough. Moving on.
Yes, please.
Facebook has a user called Virgin Islands Dictionary.
Okay.
And cheese and bread has quite a few different definitions.
Yeah.
One of them is a euphemism that substitutes for what they say might be a ruder expression of frustration, where they would say cheese and bread, and it would sort of be like, for goodness sakes, or darn it.
Cheese and bread.
They also say that it might have been introduced by missionaries as a substitute for taking the name of the Lord in vain.
Cheese and bread.
There's another, and it's spelled Jeezum bread, Jeezum.
Okay.
And it's an interjection or an exclamation like, oh wow, or oh boy.
Cheese and bread.
It's also used to denote surprise. Cheese and bread.
Cheese and bread.
It can also be used to express, give me a break.
Oh, cheese and bread.
Facebook also has Go Barbados, and they actually use the word cheese on bread. And this phrase, of course, has nothing to do with the sandwich, but
Right.
it's an exclamation of excitement. Cheese on bread. Look at that sunset.
Cheese on bread.
If you know of any cheese and bread sayings, let us know. It's time for my favorite segment.
This week in cheese.
According to CBSNews.com, in November of 2024, there was an Italian artist, Maurizio Catalan, and his work involving a banana duct taped to a wall
A banana.
sold for a whopping $6.2 million.
Cheese on bread.
They say there's something similar in Chicago, and it can be seen for free.
Whoa.
900 West Armitage Avenue at Fremont Street in the Lincoln Park neighborhood has a former ice cream shop,
Aw.
but it closed at the end of May.
What?
And what's been left on the window might surprise you. It's a single slice of Kraft American cheese.
Whoa.
A note by an anonymous writer was taped next to the cheese.
Okay.
It's actually been there since August.
Whoa.
And the note says that the writer found the cheese on August 22nd. 2024.
Okay.
They couldn't take credit for the incredible piece of modern art.
Oh, boy.
And they say one day someone stuck this cheese to a window on Armitage, and now every day I admire it.
Well,
Thank you, cheese.
thank you, cheese.
And apparently this untitled piece of artwork is now going viral online.
Of course.
I'd be interested to know if anybody can check it out to see if it's still there.
I'm ready for a joke, Fondue.
Okay. Why did cheese break up with old bread?
Oh, I don't know.
Because things were starting to get crusty.
Crusty.
Yep, crusty.
That's silly.
Oh, I know it's silly and a little bit cheesy. Thank you for listening to Just Cheesy the Podcast, episode 165, Bread and Cheese.
Thank you.
Please make sure to subscribe and add us to your downloads or comment and give us some feedback about our podcast. We'd love to hear from you.
And stay cheesy, everybody.